Hey there, and good afternoon, Tommy. How goes it there in Big D, brother?
Everything's well here.
Yeah, and traffic is at a minimum, I guess. Everybody's left town.
It was a little bit of people out there today, but we got our first cold spell in here today. I don't know if that shook things up. We froze out in West Texas. We got down in the 40s for a low, and
Get
so it's
out.
kind of the first taste of some cooler weather.
Well, hallelujah. Well, I've seen it snow on Halloween, so I don't
Yeah,
know that you guys have that in the forecast, but it's
uh,
possible.
yeah. I don't think it's that bad, but it's a nice shot of cool air.
Well, Tommy, you and I talk on occasion, but we typically don't record it. And we're recording it today and putting it out there, and potentially somebody's watching this. So I think it's probably a good idea that we maybe explain a little bit what's going on and why we thought it was important to record this and provide it for folks to listen to. So tell me, we're here for CEC, which is Clean Eating Challenge, which is brought to us by TIPA, Texas International Produce Association, via their big event, Viva Fresh. So that's what we're here to talk about. But tell us, why are we recording this? What's the deal?
I think since this program started a few years ago, it's kind of tried to find its way in the world of health and weight loss. And, I think one of the original statements was if we could get people to increase the consumption of what we grow, it's good medicine. So I think we've had several groups come through the program, and we grew it up pretty big, and now we pulled it back in a little bit. We've gone at it a little different angle, but from my chair, I'm looking to change the trajectory of the next chapter. Um, you opened my eyes up to a new book that I'm about a third of the way through that really has changed my perspective of, what is your goal and I guess, out of immaturity or not knowing what I was really doing, a weight loss goal is what it is. But this thing is so much bigger than just a weight loss goal. It's looking at the big picture of, flexibility, exercise, nutrition, and how that will change, hopefully the time we spend with grandchildren down the road.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I mean, I like how you set that up. I mean, Clean Eating Challenge, and what are we in our 10th year on the Clean Eating Challenge? Is that where we're at? Uh,
I think at least 6 or 8, and I'd have
okay.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been going. It's got a lot of good traction, right? I mean, there's been a lot of people come through the program, a lot of positive feedback. But the whole concept, when we were all beginning to talk about this project, was really about, we sell stuff that fits into that mode of clean eating, right? I mean, it's not exclusive. It can be for some people that are vegetarians, but in reality, it's what we sell is a key component in people eating healthy, living clean, healthy eating clean lives, that kind of thing. And so the clean eating challenge really, for I think for all of us was, we sell this stuff and we really want to see more people consuming it. And so the idea, with this is how can we as industry folks be a example to our industry, but to our world, I mean, instead of just talking about how people should do it, how do we, find some industry folks to represent and actually not only represent and go out and eat produce and have that be a bigger part of their diet, but also show what's the benefits of it, right? And so that kind of for me is like the short term project, right? But ideally, if it's really good, and if we all really believe in it, I think that we should look at this as this is just a step one. to a much longer deal, right? It's not a let's do the clean eating challenge and wrap it up and we're out. It's like let's look at it as to how we changing ourselves, and leaning into produce and consuming more of that, and how we're going to keep doing that, right? And if it's something that's great, if it really shows benefits, I would think that reward is worth making sure it sticks around. So,
I agree. I agree. And the first time I think we were in the first wave to give this thing a shot, and you can gauge your success by pounds. I think it's kind of what we did the first time, and but then is it sustainable, and did it change my lifestyle? No, I didn't. And so as I'm regrouping and coming into this one, yeah, I want to be more active with my kids and grandkids. I want to be healthier, as we move forward. You can look around at people in their 80s and see who's active and who's not, and what a difference in life that is. And I want to be on the right side of that evaluation.
100%. Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you on that. And I think it's important too to point out to everybody that's listening, yourself and the other folks that have taken on the challenge, right? Um, you're putting yourself out there, and this is your second time to do it. You were the founder, one of the leading guys on this program, and you're coming back for round two. And I think, as you just stated, you're coming back with a little different perspective than how you went into the first one. But I think it's important for people to realize that all of you individuals that are going to be sharing, health statistics, whether it be weight or blood work or whatever it is. One, you're sharing some pretty personal information, and you're sharing it in your case, at least. And I don't know if anybody else is going to be recording these, but certainly you're sharing this with a lot of people. It's a pretty big undertaking, right? And a pretty big responsibility. So my hat off to you, as well as other people out there willing to take that risk and put it out. I think it's admirable for sure to do that. And so just a attaboy there. Hats off to you, sir.
Well, you hope that you have something at the end of the road you're happy with, but not everything's going to be positive, and I think sharing the challenges and just the journey will be important for someone else that is even considering a life-changing habit or eating or exercising or whatever.
100%. Well, let's get into it. I've got a few questions for you. And you and I talked a little bit about some of this, but so as we said, for you and I and the conversation, for me to be here and working with you, I mean, as a personal friend of yours and anybody else that I'm a friend with, it's like I would love to be part of or be some sort of a catalyst, help, whatever it is, and that helps you not just have great success over these next 6 months, more or less, but really, like I say, dial into something that 10 or 15 years down the road, you know, you and I get together and you're like, "Oh my god, that really helped put me on a path and really put me in a place that I wanted to be." So with that, my first question is, what is your big objective past clean eating? Well, this is the start. This is kind of kicking into gear. What's your big objective?
I've thought about this a lot. Doctors have told me that you can't out exercise a bad diet. So, what's the dynamics of, working out plus nutrition? I think the key, I came off two medications with my first venture into this, and I'm down to two, and I just think that if you can live without medication, it's going to make life better. Medication is very positive, but it can also be pull you down in energy or whatever. So, I'd like to be medication free.
Okay.
I'd like for us, but I think one of the things I look forward to is what do we do to make 10 or 20 years down the road a better chapter than it would be on the path I was on.
Okay. So, couple of things. Do you mind sharing the two medications you're on?
I'm on a statin, which is it's a generic Crestor for cholesterol, and that's probably my biggest hurdle currently would be high cholesterol.
Okay.
The second one is a high blood pressure medicine, olmesartan, and coming off of the first chapter, we cut that in half. But I'm still on blood pressure medicine.
Gotcha. So I will tell you, so the book I sent you, Dr. Peter Attia's book, and for anybody that's out there, I mean, I highly recommend. It's called Outlive. There's a ton of books and there's a ton of good books. But I've followed this doctor for probably, gosh, 5 or 6 years. I don't know however long he's had a podcast. I've been watching it and following him, but he's not really trying to sell you. I mean, not trying to sell you anything, and he just got a great approach. And thank you, by the way, for the notification. Actually, funny thing is I literally got a text about him being on 60 Minutes. Got it from you, and then shortly thereafter, my sister sends me a text on it because I'd sent my whole family last year when this book came out. I sent all my brothers and sisters a copy of the book. So, and
It's kind of funny, I got the book. We were traveling out to West Texas, and I was reading the book, and my wife is a tough critic, and she's like, "Ah, that's another book, huh?" And so I we got back home, and here he came on 60 Minutes, and she said, "Wait a minute, that's that book you're reading." So like 60 Minutes validified my deal, and she means well, but she is a tough critic, and
hey,
but both of us are 30-40% into the book. It's a lot to digest. It's not hard, but you're tackling some tough issues. And I do think watching it on 60 Minutes helped me to understand the journey we were going on a little bit better. And, you can Google 60 Minutes on CBS and just pick up his part of it. And it was very educational.
yeah, yeah, and it really did a good job of kind of laying out his Atia's philosophy on what his whole
Yeah.
objective is, kind of a thing, right? Really, what he's about. So I thought it was good. It was a really good episode. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It made me a little bit, so it for you guys it solidified. For me, it's like, oh man, he's on 60 Minutes now. He's famous, and and I'm a little more worried about him going the other way and losing some of the what the thought of being just a good guy. But I'm sure it's fine. But what I was going to say is, you talk about statins. So he's got some podcast out there on that, and he's in the camp. He's not an anti-statin guy, and he goes into a lot of the science behind some of the things and reports out there. So one way or the other, I mean, certainly that's a good, admirable goal. I actually don't have to, and I don't use them regularly, but I think I told you before, one of the things that kicked me in this years ago was my cholesterol increasing. And so I went on a path and started getting that under control and did. I changed my triglycerides significantly by changing my diet, but overall minor at the upper end. And listening to him and some of the research that's on it, I actually asked my doctor, said, "Hey, can I, you know, get a low dose and just try and keep it in check?" But But the high blood pressure, I think that's a good one we go after. I don't know if we can get that done, between now and the next 6 months. We'll see. Do you monitor your blood pressure on a regular basis?
I do. I actually, we do it once a week and turn that into my doctor.
Gotcha. All right. So you are recording this. So I think for me, for any of this kind of stuff, and full disclosure, I'm a lot of nut. I'm not kind of a nut. I'm a nut on a lot of things. I get into something and then I'm kind of like fully in the deep end, right? There's only two speeds for me, and that's off or full blast. And, so I've got a
Well,
cholesterol monitor, I've got sugar monitors, I've got blood pressure. I mean, and I used to record all this stuff. I've gotten to where I'm not quite as nutty as I used to be. But I think recording that information, keeping up with it, especially if you're trying to work towards something, I think that's great.
well, medically, I've got everything inside the lines that they want to see. My blood pressure the last 2 months has been 116 over 70. But I can't take credit for that. I mean, the medicine is helping me do that. So it would be one day that I could take a step away from the medicine and maintain the good blood pressure. So I think everything we're doing is headed in a direction of being, somewhat self taking care of yourself instead of medically taken care of.
So you mentioned in there, so the 10 to, so first, before I get to this next question, 10 to 15 years, right? You want to be in a better place or a different place than where you think you were heading. So what does that look like? So Tommy, I mean, I'm 59, turned 60 in February. You're pretty close to my age, correct?
I turned 65 in July.
Okay, so 65 in July. So when you're 75, right? Um, I mean, what are one or two things that physically, mentally, I don't know, what would be like the big goal?
Well, we've got a 6-year-old grandson, 5-year-old granddaughter. Maybe there's others coming. I'm not in control of that, but you think that in 10 years they're going to be driving or going to college. I'm kind of stepped out there a little bit further and said, okay, they're in their mid 20s and maybe they have children that I would want to be around for the great grandchildren. But the main thing is that I want to be an active grandparent through these grandchildren growing up stages. The other thing is my wife is my champion. She hiked the Grand Canyon earlier this year. She's doing a 60 something mile bike ride through Tuscany next year. Yeah, it's not even in I couldn't see that with binoculars. But I want to be able to be active with my wife and I want to be active with my kids and my grandchildren.
All right, so you just gave what would you so if I told you again, if something me a genie said, Tommy, you can be on that bike ride, you can have confidence and you can go on that bike ride with your wife, right? If they came in, but you've got to sacrifice something. Think about something that you know is not good for your health that potentially is going to delay you from getting there. Would it be, I mean, I say sacrifice, you means you got to start riding a bike once a week. What's it worth to you, I guess? What's it worth to be able to hit that goal? And that's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, what would really, you know, you'd be like, you know what, I'll give that, I would sacrifice something really important to you to be on that bike ride.
Well, your employers don't want to hear my answer, but you got to sacrifice some of the work and you got to have balance. You've got to quit and you got to take care of yourself. And so the sacrifice would be maybe more of a balance versus working 24 hours a day. whether you're working or worrying or fighting or doing whatever you do. But I think managing time is the wrestle, the demon I've got to wrestle. Um, and then consistency. I've had pockets of, you know, doing great things, whether it's even 10,000 steps a day or, you know, I just got to develop more consistency in what I'm doing.
Fair enough. Well, I would encourage you to, to take a look at that and don't discount the possibility of being able to make that trip. Uh, again, set it high and and if nothing else, you go and you only make, what is it? You think you said 60 miles or whatever. What you said over 30. I mean, you get there and you can do 30 or whatever. Or you get I don't know. For me, that's always better to set them super high. And I know you've been selling produce and buying produce for a long time and you understand that concept. It's always better to set those goals that seem unreachable and then drive at those. And if you come up short, it's a lot better than just not trying at all. So,
I agree. Got a few things wrote on my desk pad at work, and one of them's that you work all your life to travel. Just make sure you travel more than to work.
100%. That's great. That's actually an excellent quote. All right, so let's get three things, and really kind of want these to be short term, but with long term implications, right? So we're working on the CEC challenge. Uh, I think you identified a weight target as one of them, and I'm in 100% agreement with you. I don't believe weight should be the end all be all, right? For just yeah. I mean, it certainly can be impactful, but there's plenty of skinny, sick people.
Right.
Okay. And so I think weight's an important component and it certainly has positive benefits if you're overweight or you're over your normal weight. But at the end of the day, so is that still one that is that still a number you want to put down?
I think 199 is an accountability point that I would like to get to. I have come to the realization that maybe if we do a lot of things we're talking about, the weight will come with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's awakened my mindset to flexibility, nutrition, other things that will help me get there and maybe keep it sustainable past this journey.
Right.
But yeah, 199 is a measurable goal.
All right. What's the second measurable goal you want to put on the list here?
We've got. I don't know. I know what I'm trying to say. I don't know that I have the way to say it, but I want to get the flexibility and core strength up
Okay.
in my everyday life. So not going to the gym to be a power fit guy, but we've got to get the core strength increased.
Okay. Flexibility, core strength. So in your cholesterol scores, how are your triglycerides? Are they good? And the other two that's out?
Now the triglycerides are bumping high.
So let's let's put that down. You fair? Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's the number on the tries right now? More or less. I know you probably don't know right off the top of your head, but
It seems like 230 is the top of the range, and I was about 250.
okay. So yeah, that is. I don't know what the top of the range is, but I know enough to know that that's high. And
Yeah.
ideally, you'd like if you can get it below 100, that would be a huge
Yes.
accomplishment.
Yeah.
All
And I've
right.
I've really toned down the alcohol in the
Mm-hmm.
last year. So it's more than, so it's probably lots of things, but that's one thing we've got to tackle.
Do you eat a lot? Do you eat a lot of wheat? You saw my email I sent out this week. Do you find yourself, whether it's pastas, breads, wheats in general?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, my triglycerides were high. That was one of my issues, and it, again, I don't know whether that is the singular thing, but it certainly made a huge difference in that. So something I would highly encourage you to take a look at is figuring out how to avoid that. I've heard, and one of the hard things to do, you go to a steak restaurant and they bring out that hot bread, trying to deny yourself that. And then hamburgers. Oh my gosh. I've learned to eat, and they're good now, right? They're good now, but I've learned to eat hamburgers, without any bun,
Right.
and make it a burger salad. And frankly, they're really good.
Yeah.
And those are, different hacks, but I can tell you, man, I'm just not a wheat guy. I don't really have any gluten issues, but my wife does, so it's helped me because everything she needs to eat's that way. So I'm eating gluten-free pizzas or gluten-free whatever, right? So something to put in there, but I think that we got a good target on that. So yeah, we got three things: the weight, flexibility, core strength. A little hard to measure that. You probably ought to set a baseline, Tommy, with some sort of stretch and flexibility as to, you know, can you touch your toes? You can't touch your toes. Something like figure out what that is, and then we get to that point. So I'll let you figure out what that comes out to be, and we'll set that down.
Okay.
All right. So here this already kind of led in this, but what has been your food plan? I know you've already kind of started changing, or you already made some changes, right? In your food plan, if I'm not mistaken, I think you'd mentioned. But what was your food plan? And then as you move in this cleaning challenge, what is it you're looking to change?
I was a poor executor of breakfast, which is a
Okay.
big problem. Um, I would skip a lot of meals and then eat a big meal. So we've really tried to increase protein in every angle we can. Um, Protein probably has been my main focus, and eating more often, less amount of better things. Barbara and I've tried to do more meal prepping on Sundays to where, yeah, I've got that lunch ready at work instead of going to Whataburger or Chick-fil-A. Um, but I think some of the things the book and you have brought out is there were pasta in there that you think is doing better, but can we do some different things within that world? To You gave me a recipe for last Sunday, and there's some better choices even between what we've done on meal prepping.
Got you. So yeah, so obviously, you've got some things, in your diet. Um, if you could pick four things, now this is not health related, okay? Because this is going to be telling, and possibly, but if you could pick four things to eat for the rest of your life with no good or bad consequences, no health effects whatsoever, what would the four things? And to give you, it could be a pizza, be a hamburger. I don't know, but what are the four? It could be a steak. I don't know. What are the four things that you can think of that, man, that's what I'd eat for the rest of my life? That's all you got.
Well, a good hamburger has got to be the most satisfying thing I've ever ate.
Okay.
I've been to Europe a couple of times, and when I come home, I'm craving a good hamburger.
Okay. Fair enough.
I I love a good steak. Um, though that's a pizza and Mexican food are probably my demons.
Well, you and I aren't too far off, but I will tell you mine has changed in terms of, so if I gave you this, I mean, a couple of different diversions before I started trying to pay attention to what I was eating. Chicken fried steak would have been on there for sure. Honestly, my mom's chicken fried steak. If I get nothing else, it was her chicken fried steak, and meatloaf. Those were two of mine.
I
But
didn't say meatloaf, but that's probably one of my favorite things in life.
yeah, But, today and so what I'm with this, to give you an idea of how it's changed, but I've also changed how I consume them to fit the life, right? So now if somebody asks me, within that Mexican food venue, right? If somebody said, because Mexican food across the board, I don't care anything on the menu, I could eat that. But today I will tell you it's tacos and, particularly fajita type tacos. Uh, you know, and the good news is with that, and today, I would eat with corn tortillas, no longer flour tortillas. I'm corn tortillas, taco fajitas, and, leaning heavy into the vegetables, the avocados, that kind of stuff that you put on. Um, I love pizza. Pizzas, gluten-free crust, avoid the wheat, but load that dude up. More veg heavy versus meat heavy.
Okay.
Uh, So there's a dish, Rachel Ray dish that my wife came across. This one's not super healthy, but oh my gosh, it's good. Um, it's uh, it's gnocchi Italian sausage with butternut squash. It
Wow.
is, oh my gosh, it's decadent and so very good. And then I'm with you on the cheeseburger. I got to have some bacon on mine, cheeseburger with bacon. But, that's another one that get rid of the bun and make it a salad. So, it's weird because, like I say, I grew up eating a lot of fried foods. That's what we did, I mean, and then you're probably very familiar with it. My family was not, of any wealth standards, and, you fry foods that either aren't very good or they're cheap, and, you fry them to make 'em palatable, and, so I grew up eating a lot of fried fish, a lot of, chicken fried steak, that kind. I hardly ever touch fried food now, and honestly, don't have a huge desire for fried food, any longer. But, those are kind of things that have changed for me. But two, when I put this list together, I looked at it and the ability to add in produce on all of these except the gnocchi dish, and you do get butternut squash, but frankly, all these other ones, the hamburger, everything. My gosh, you can really go heavy into the produce on a pizza. You can go heavier on, your tacos. And so, it's kind of funny to me when I put that list together. I was like, wow. And these truly are my favorite foods, and I could be okay eating the rest of my life on this stuff. So, but, yeah, I mean, think through that because, it's like I said, for me, um, I realize that the fried food is something I need to move away from. But if you're going to move away from something, move to something equally as good, right? It's really hard. If you told me, hey, Greg, I want you to move away from tater tots and go to broccoli. It's really hard for me to make that be as good as broccoli. I mean, good as tater tots ever are, right? And by the way, I eat plenty of tater tots still today, so I'm a huge tater tot guy. But you know what I'm saying? In other words, think conceptually, if there's things that you have that you really enjoy, how do you either change those to make them slightly on the healthier side, or how do you find something that you can equally like or enjoy as much as you can? So
Yeah.
that's a that's a hack, at least for me, that's worked.
I'm fortunate. Barbara is very supportive of me. She's a good cook. So as we identify these trials, and I'll be a little bit more into trialing, I've got a good support team.
That's great. So one thing that I would like you to do some research into, and again, for everybody out there, I'm a squash salesman. So I am a squash salesman that has read books and looked at stuff. I have, I only know what has worked for me, and only share what has worked on my side. So always, talk to your doctor, check with them. Some doctors are going to be against what I'm about to say, but I highly recommend you do the research in it. It is the number one thing across the board that I've done. And that is You call it what you want to. You can call it fasting. You can call it time feeding, whatever. But and it's a psychological thing, and I think all of this, Tommy, really for any of this to be a success, you gotta first get right in your head, and this is why I'm doing this, and this is what the reward and all that. But um, learning to reduce what I'm consuming and narrow it down, I'm 90% of my days is one meal a day.
Really?
Yeah. And and again, so at my top weight, I was 173. Nobody believes that, but I was 173, and I'm a small guy, and 173. Nobody really thought of me being overweight. I mean, I was a pudgy guy, but everybody just thought that was natural. I, through my change, I'm 140. I've maintained 140. That's about where I was at when I came out of high school. And I didn't go start doing all this eating to lose weight, frankly. In fact, I didn't think of myself as being fat. I was just mostly trying to improve my health scores. But I've been able to maintain my weight. But like I say, I eat once a day. I don't concern myself terribly a lot of times with how much I'm eating, or whatever in that one time a day. I do try and lean into the healthier options and avoid the stuff. So it's not like I just eat once a day and I'm eating chicken fried steak and potatoes and stuff like, or, fried potatoes, that sort of thing. But yeah, in terms of how much I'm consuming then, I, you know, anyway, it's worked magic for me. And, now that once I'm on that rhythm, I don't even think about it. And typically, once a year, I will do a 3 to 4 day fast. Now, I will be honest, I skipped this last year. I usually do it in June, but I'll go 3 to 4 days and just drink coffee, black, and water and tea and that kind of stuff. But that's it. Um, so do the research on it, take a look at it. Even, if it's somewhat modified, I just can't tell you um, how much better I feel. There is no afternoon lag for me, right? I mean, because you don't eat, or at least for me, I don't eat. I don't get that sleepy time at 3 o'clock. When I'm
Okay.
at work and we go to a big lunch, and of course I'm having lunch with everybody. I feel it. So something to look into. Something that I would encourage you to maybe consider giving it a shot. See how you do. Like I say, I can't tell you it's super easy out of the box,
Right.
but it was like number one thing I would tell anybody. It has changed my health scores, changed how I felt, bar none.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to think about in this journey.
There is, and we've got a lot of discussion to do. That's kind of what we'll ideally do through the next couple of weeks. The next videos for anybody listening, the next ones will be shorter. We won't get into so much. It's going to be more about Tommy. How you're tracking, what you've changed, you know, again, how are you going? We'll talk a little bit about your scores. How, and, did you come down in weight? That kind of stuff. But really be talking about, what's the journey look like, right? And ideally for anybody that's tuning into this thing, it's for them to join in your journey and see, like I say, you as an example of what are the struggles, what are the battles, and boom, boom, boom. And ideally, get to a place, when we get to Viva Fresh, to get to a place where you want to be.
Yeah. Appreciate your help.
Well, yeah, I hope I am. We'll see if I'm any help or not over the next few weeks. There's no promises there. Like I said, I can help you with squash. Don't know about this. We'll see if I can help out here. But no, I look forward to it, Tommy. I appreciate you letting me be part of this. To be honest with you, I really do. Means a lot to me to be on this journey with you and getting it, like I say, lend a hand. So. I know that kind of wraps it up. Unless you've got something else you wanna share.
Look forward to seeing where we go with this.
All right, sounds good. Well, look, I can't leave here. I got to get a few accolades. So my son, um, Granger Slade, is going to be doing the editing. So just a shout out to Granger. Anybody out there looking for some marketing? He does digital marketing. He does graphics, all that kind of stuff. Uh, be sure and I believe I should have his email, but I believe it's Brady, which is his first name, dot slate at gmail.com. Next time we do this show, I'll make sure I have that. And then shout out to Tippa, guys. I mean, look, Tippa's is the groups that's behind Viva Fresh. They're also behind a lot of outstanding organizations out there. Uh, guys growing in Texas, guys, shipping out of Mexico through Texas. Dante and his team over there do a fantastic job. And so, if you're a shipper in Texas, if you're coming through South Texas, please get involved with TIPA. They're more than Viva Fresh. Everybody knows Viva Fresh, and they know and it's a great event. But there's way more to TIPA than just a Viva Fresh, and it's an organization that truly is committed to getting higher consumption and supporting farmers and making sure that we're able to get crops into North America. So shout out to those guys. Appreciate them being behind this CEC challenge. So. And with that, sir, let's call it a wrap, and we'll check back here in a couple of weeks. All right.
Forward to next time.